All right, you're on the home stretch. The last thing you need to do, we're going to submit and create. And I think we're going to start with the Actually, we'll start with the create. I think that's just a little easier. Now, what I have open is I use CodeSpace. I have open GitHub here, but I have my CodeSpace open, and I did the git dash help, and I have that, and then I did my git push. So I'm just showing you because I've talked about it, especially for CodeSpace students using CodeSpace. It's really important. And right now, there's no, everything is, if I did a git status, right, everything is up to date, nothing to commit. So I could go ahead right now and go ahead and because I want to have those hours be used only when I'm in there, because remember I've said it'll count 30 minutes before it deactivates it. So I'm going to go ahead and stop it. Now, while that's happening, I'm going to move over to GitHub. Remember, this is only where we submit, never where we modify anything. So over in GitHub, what I want to show you is in your public, and this is only true for your public repos because we're going to end up creating what we call a GitHub URL that will then take this repo and make it a website because that's what we're building and that's something that's important for the class. Okay, so again, no matter if you're local or if you're on CodeSpace, and I'm going to go ahead and close this out, go to your public repo for this first step. And then go over to settings. And under settings, you're going to see a couple things, but scroll down until you see pages. Now, by the way, I have these instructions also in Canvas. You go to pages. Now, in pages, what you're going to do is we're going to deploy set up, and there's a couple steps that happen in the back, so don't worry about that. But what that means is it could take a few minutes for this to show up. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, and where it says branch, go down and hit main branch. Okay, root, leave it as root, and then hit save. Okay, so this is just select main, leave it as root, and when you hit save, then what happens is behind the scenes, this is now being set up. And now I'm going to leave this here because we're going to come back to it in a minute. Okay, so what we did here is we just created our GitHub pages, and and this is part of what you're going to submit, right? And this is what I just walked you through here, right? So now I'm going to show you, while we're waiting for this thing to show up, is how to submit this assignment, because there'll be two things you need to do. Now, in this assignment, I'm going to scroll back up to the top and I'm going to hit submit assignment. And notice there's a comments and there's a URL, okay? And you're going to give me different things here. Okay, so let's go back over here and let's see. I'm going to hit refresh and see if it showed up. And mine did. Okay, so in this case, this URL, and I could either hit visit site or I could, and never, and by the way, do not unpublish. I mean, I can fix it, but just in general. And what this now is a URL that I will then use to the course when I want to share. And it's generally in attendance, but also in some of your project work. Okay, so I'm going to copy this. Now I could copy it here. That'd be fine. Or I could visit the site. And this is now rendering what is that README file. Now we'll change this over time. But in this case, I could just grab this URL, come over to Canvas, and this is what I would place here. Okay, so this tells me, right, this is your URL, but we're not done yet, okay, because we're also going to, and I'm going to come back to where I started in setting this up. I'm going to go back to CIT85. I'm going to hit repos. I'm going to find my private repo, okay? Because my private repo, and this is what is really important to understand, is there are times when you're going to share with everybody in class, and this is the URL, and it'll have some other folders that you'll be sharing. But when you're submitting your code along assignments that are in your private repo, you don't set up that URL. Sorry, you only share with me what's called your commit history. Okay, so now let me show you how to do that one. Over here where we did code before, even if you did local or whatever, go and look underneath there and it'll have this little time and it'll say, in this case, depending on how many commits, but I think a minimum of 2 right now. But if I come in here, right? Oh, actually, it looks like anyway, you should have a other one related to that Get help file. But if you come up here right now, okay, this is the URL. Now I'll have you give me folder specific URLs in the future, but for this particular assignment, you just copy this URL from the address bar. Come back to Canvas, and now under comments, give me that one. Okay, so this is your public URL. Again, when you're doing stuff that you want other students and including me to see, you'll end up using something that looks like this. Okay, but when you commit your history, you give me your commit history for the code alongs. Here's how you would do that. I'm going to go ahead and submit. Okay, and this is again, if you submit early, I will grade that and give you any feedback. Because what I will grade when I'm grading this submission is, did you use my naming standards? Did you set up the commits? Did you do all the work required? And did you submit it correctly? And I just want to say a word here. Now, the next one will be the first review, and there'll be a video for that one. But here's what I want you to know is when I say we're using your commit history, this is on the private repo, this would be like for your code along assignments, okay? And then when you're doing attendance, and that will be something you will end up sharing in week 2, that will then be your GitHub. This is because we'll end up creating web pages, subdirectories underneath here, but notice the difference. This actually creates a web page. This just gives me the commit history. Okay, this is a URL. And by the way, they're all still setting on GitHub. Like if I was to come back here and I was to look at repos and I was to look at the public, right? What's rendering right now is this README file. Okay, that's what is rendering. Now we're going to end up setting up other files, but I just want you to know that this is what you would share when you're creating and sharing websites with us, and the other one is what you do for your commit history. Okay, and I just wanted to give you an example before you move into that next assignment. All right, talk to you later. Bye.